Today marks a special day in CREPN radio history. This is episode number 200. Normally, at this time, I would introduce my guest, a real estate investor or a real estate professional, and a topic. But today, I have no guest, and that's because I wanted to speak briefly with you about risk. But first, a quick reminder, if you like the show, please let us know. You can do this. You can like, you can share, you can subscribe. And as always, you can leave a comment. We would love to hear from you. Also, I want to remind you, if you'd like to see how handsome our guests are normally, you can check out our YouTube channel, and that's at Commercial Real Estate Pro Network on YouTube. So today, I want to talk with you briefly about risk. And for those of you who don't yet know, I am an insurance broker by day, and I focus on working with real estate investors. And I'm also a real estate investor. My wife and I have a small portfolio. We've got 6 single-family homes, and we've also got a small apartment building. And so often in real estate, what gets talked about are the amazing profits or the huge wins, and many of which are truly life-changing. And like I said, on the podcast, we normally talk about what to do, but rarely do we talk about risk and how my guest, the investors or the professionals see risk. Merriam-Webster defines risk this way: it's the possibility of loss or injury. And as an insurance broker, my focus is working with real estate investors to assess their exposure to loss and then also help them manage the risk. And there's just kind of a 4-step process for risk management. The first is you identify the risk. Next, we assess the risk. Then we manage the risk. And then lastly, we review and come back and make changes, start the process over if we need to. The 3 strategies that are most often used in risk management are: we can avoid the risk if we feel that the risk is just too risky. Next, we can look at what can we do to minimize the risk, okay? And then lastly, we look to see what we can do to transfer the risk. And this is primarily done through contracts, of which an insurance contract is, or an insurance policy is a contract as well. In real estate, risk is everywhere. It's what you don't know that can hurt you, and this can be a big problem when you're dealing with millions of dollars. So, as many wise, experienced investors have explained on the podcast, this is why they place such a premium on knowledge and so much effort in doing due diligence. Most investors agree that you can never know everything, but you can dig in and ask questions and get answers that make sense, or tell you why you should not do the deal or go forward. On the podcast, we've talked with many guests about their strategies for investing to help and hopefully help you on how you can grow your portfolio. And I plan to continue doing that for the short time and until this is no longer fun or exciting. But I've not always talked about this in relationship to risk, the possibility of injury or loss. To date, some of the topics we've talked about market selection, we've talked about property underwriting, due diligence, asset management, financing, raising capital, the economy, picking your partners, different asset classes, property management, value add, the liquidation of a property, the sale, and the list goes on. But not until recently have I talked about risk. And I thought, this makes sense coming from an insurance broker who works with his clients on managing their risk daily. Why not start asking guests about risk? So for the last 20 episodes, I've asked my guests the question: what is the biggest risk? To my delight, they've shared their concerns and how they manage risk. And what started out a little bit confusing, I think sometimes they were prepared to answer it in an insurance way, but very quickly we established the fact that I'm not looking for an insurance-related risk. I'm looking for risk. And again, they've definitely covered the spectrum of what they see as risk with real estate investing. And so, beginning today, I am making this question and answer of the biggest risk available on its own. It'll be on the podcast. It'll be a weekly. There'll be an additional episode. I think it'll probably drop on Mondays normally. But for the short, immediate future, I'm going to do these one per day until we get through the ones we've already done. And then they'll sync up with the normal podcast. But just as another opportunity for you, if you'd like to listen to a quick bit about risk, and again, these are all focused on risk, the biggest risk, if you will. And they'll be available on the podcast, and you can also see them on YouTube as well. And to introduce this series or this additional aspect of the podcast, the following is my first guest, Scott Hollister, who answered the question, what do you see is the biggest risk?
And from an investor and rehab standpoint, the two biggest issues that people get hung up on are underestimating the rehab cost and underestimating the time to complete the project. And you'll find that if you go for that type of lending, they're always going to ask, what's your exit strategy? What's your backup exit strategy? What's your third exit strategy? And that's what I try to find. Okay, if I can't refinance out, can I quick sale? Can I fire sale it? Can I do some type of creating strategy? Okay, what does it look like on a commercial note? What does it look like on a fixed 30-year, Fannie and Freddie note? So, and I try to play out that worst case scenario. Okay, can I weather that storm? And then back into the deal.
You're listening to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals. For more information on this or any of our guests, like us on Facebook, CREPN Radio.